It was a sad day, but it was a day where there was great anger in our country. The people went to Washington primarily because they were angry with an election that they think was rigged. A very small portion, as you know, went down to the Capitol, and then a very small portion of them went in. But I will tell you, they were angry from the standpoint of what happened in the election, because they're smart and they see and they saw what happened.
The former president reacting to January 6th before he left the White House. That interview is part of the highly anticipated three-part docuseries by British filmmaker Alex Holder, available now on Discovery Plus. The January 6th committee subpoenaed the raw footage from the documentary, and Holder testified before the committee behind closed doors in June. Here's a bit more from the film.
You said before you didn't want to talk about Capitol. Should we move on?
Yeah, let's skip to 6.
When you're telling people that a presidential election is being stolen, you can't be shocked when people believe you and then become violent. At some point, they have to take responsibility.
The filmmaker behind Unprecedented, Alex Holder, is here with me tonight. Alex, talk about the greatest free PR ever for a documentary. Your footage and you get called by the January 6th committee. What did they want to see in your content?
Well, I think this was obviously a really unusual situation, right? I mean, to have access to the incumbent president of the United States of America and his 3 kids.
Yeah. But I mean, what in your footage did you have on January 6th or before that they were most interested in?
I think they were interested in all of it. I mean, at the end of the day, they were interested in the incredible footage we have of the events of January 6th itself. I mean, that was a war zone, and we captured these remarkable and tragic moments in a way that I think is pretty extraordinary and different to the other material that was out there. But also, we have a contemporaneous account of what was going on in the president's mind at very specific moments whilst he was the president of the United States. And I think that also is obviously very important for the record and for history.
Then, given what you know, and you've watched the hearings, what is America missing? What don't we know about what was going on in the mind of Donald Trump and his team during the days, weeks leading up to the 6th and the 6th itself?
The truth is, I think people do know. At the end of the day, this was a president who had, since 2016, had been undermining the sanctity of the vote. He had said this in 2016 after the debate with Hillary Clinton, that the only way that he will accept the results of the 2016 presidential election was, and there's this theatrical pause, and he says, if I win. Now, obviously, he knew that he was joking back then, or he was lying. He was undermining the sanctity of the vote back in 2016. However, fast forward to 2020, he then becomes somebody who believes in this lie. And I'm sitting in the diplomatic reception room with the guy with a nuclear football outside the room, with all the Secret Service around. He is the President of the United States, sitting down, looking him in the eye and saying, there's no way that President Biden got 80 million votes. And we need to reopen all the votes in Georgia. 4 days earlier, his own Attorney General is saying that there was no evidence whatsoever to support his claims. So this is the president who is literally talking nonsense and is lying, but has become somebody who's detached from reality, is unable to converse and debate.
He's always talked nonsense. He's always been a liar. He's a showman. It's what he was. Do you actually believe that he believes this big lie? Because you say you witnessed the transformation. Explain that to me.
So this is, in fact, what Bill Barr himself said in his deposition, that Donald Trump became detached from reality. This man was somebody...
When was he attached to it?
Well, I think in this particular situation, when you're undermining democracy, when you're undermining the vote, that's incredibly dangerous. And that led to the events of January 6th. I mean, there's no question. He is sitting in the room with a painting of George Washington looking down at him, and he is just telling me things that are absolutely outrageous. And that was a pretty tragic and scary moment.
Where were you? Where were your cameras on January 6th?
So Michael, our DP, was inside, or not inside the Capitol, on the steps of the Capitol, sort of inside the sort of mosh, I guess, of people all trying to basically storm and get inside. They're screaming that they want to hang Mike Pence. They're coming up with all sorts of crazy conspiracy theories. And these are people who had this deep sort of religious fervor in that Donald Trump might actually be able to intervene in this ceremonial process and stop the certification of the Electoral College votes.
I want to share a bit more from the documentary, really about the influence Trump had, his understanding of social media, really. Watch this.
It's a shame what Twitter did and what Facebook did. That's what they do. These people are thugs.
YouTube is the latest media platform to block President Trump.
They allow other people to be on who are horrific people. I'm not a horrific person. I have a big voice. I have a voice that had hundreds of millions of people listening.
How well did he understand his power and influence on social media? And how tragic was it for him to lose that access?
Oh, it was absolutely tragic. And in fact, I'll tell you something that I haven't told anyone. In Mar-a-Lago, when I interviewed him for the second time, he was in a terrible mood. And before he came in, one of his assistants said how much of a bad mood he was in. And I said, why? Is it because, he's no longer in the White House? And she said it's because he's off Twitter. He couldn't get over the fact that he was banned from social media. He knew how powerful that platform was for him. And that...
But before that, did he embrace that power maybe better than anyone else you can think of?
I think so, yes. I think that's fair enough. Absolutely. And that's why it was so hard for him to not be able to have access to it.